Hi guys, it was just my fellow South Africans. I am so upset. It's taken me a moment to just calm down to a panic. And here's why. When I was 13 years old, my father was brutally gunned down. He was shot 9 times in front of me. To this day, that murder has never been solved. The police opened the docket twice and lost it both times. We don't have a farm murder problem in this country. We have a murder problem in this country. If you took the quantum of farmers who get murdered, regardless of race, and compared it with the quantum of people who get murdered at taxi ranks, people who get murdered at squatter camps, we have a murder problem in this country. The truth is, we have a police force that's ineffective, inefficient, and has not come to terms with the murder problems as we have it in South Africa. We have an intelligence force that in truth is probably more concerned with fighting political wars than it is actually fixing the crime problem. And at the heart of it, we have a political dispensation that is not concerned about the plight of the average citizen. You see, let me tell you something. I don't care which side of the spectrum of the color divide you sit in. You either love this country or you don't. You want this country to work or you don't. And if you are a South African that loves his country, then there are a couple of principles you and I must agree on. You cannot call a march and fly a separatist, racist flag. And don't tell me that the apartheid flag or is about heritage. Heritage? Whose heritage? Because let me tell you what apartheid represents to my family. It represents the mass murder of my people. That's what apartheid represents. To my people, that's what apartheid is. It represents the subjugation of an entire class of people for no other reason other than race. It represents the separation and creating of these concentration camps called townships for my people. That's what it represents. I'm the first person in my family to get a university degree, not because I'm smarter, but because an apartheid system said to my parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, that it was illegal for them to get an education. Told them it was illegal for them to own land, illegal for them to have aspirations and own businesses. That's what apartheid did. How dare you come out on my streets, in my country where I pay taxes, and fly a flag that represents the oppression of my people, then tell me it has to do with heritage. And for everybody who has supported this movement, regardless of where you're coming from, it's filthy, disgusting that people are flying apartheid flags. Do you know what happens in Germany when people fly the Nazi flag? They get arrested. It's a criminal offense. You can't do it. Because you can't talk about your heritage as if your heritage is separate somehow from the subjugation and the mass murder of a people. Read up on the facts and statistics about what I'm just tired. These people who are now marching for Black Monday, where were you when the young man was put in a coffin? Did you march then? Or did you justify it and say, oh no, why was he trespassing? Where were you when the other young man was shot? And the farmer said, I thought he was a baboon. As if for some strange reason, shooting a baboon is okay. Did you ever think about the fact that actually the baboon meant, even if it was a baboon, what was it going to do? Attack him? No, he was just running in his farm and he killed it. He killed it. In his mind, he says, not knowing he killed a human being. Did you march then? Because I certainly didn't see anybody block the R21 to march then. The only time I remember a voice coming from this particular community was when the minimum wage was passed. And the minimum wage says you've got to pay farm laborers X amount. Do you know what happened? The community uproared. It said, no, we can't afford these farm wages. Yeah, of course you can't, because you've been used to paying people using the dope for 80 years. Tell that to the families who live in the Western Cape, who have no pensions, no bank accounts, no financial wealth, no homes, no land, nothing. They've worked for 80 years of their lives and they have nothing to speak for because they got paid by the dope system. Tell them. I'm tired, man. And it's sick and it's disgusting that people have the audacity, the unmitigating temerity, not only to bring the apartheid flag onto our streets, but that the overwhelming majority of people, and I'm watching this on social media, I just came out of a board meeting and I was shown these numbers. The overwhelming majority of people are sitting there like it's okay, and you're justifying it. Now I know what you will say, because I've seen some of the selective statistics. Some people saying the national average for the murder of farms per 100,000 people is higher than the national average. Sure. But you know, it might be that the national average for the murder of domestic workers is higher than the national average. I don't see them protesting. It might be that the national average for the murder of black women is higher than the national average. I don't see them protesting either. If you benchmark against the national average, invariably it's an average, which means there will be pieces of the data above it, pieces of the data below it. It's an average. But you can't infer a genocide by benchmarking against an average. It's almost as if there's this narrative that seeks to suggest that there was a conference called somewhere by someone that discussed the murder of white farmers. If there was, I don't know about it. And if that's the case, then the country needs to fix it. We've got to solve it. We've got to find those people. We've got to put them behind bars where they rightfully belong. But you have, and I repeat, no excuse to fly that filthy flag on my streets. Get it off my streets. You want to march for the murder of a specific group of people? Go for it. We have a flag in this country. It's got 7 colors. It was introduced in 1994. That's the one you fly. And if you don't like that flag, then I've got news for you. You're in the wrong country. Get out. Go somewhere else. Somewhere else where you can have separatist, racist views and people will adjourn to your views. But you're in the wrong place. Before we lose everybody in the voices, I'm wearing black. And I'm not wearing black for any other reason other than to say, for me, Black Monday is not just about the murder of farmers. It's about the murder of everybody. 13 years old, my father was brutally gunned down. To this day, that case has never been solved. And my story is the story of millions of young and old South Africans. Mothers who've lost kids, wives who've lost husbands, fathers who've lost sons. It's the story of this country that we have a crime problem. So don't tell me we have a murder problem in farms. We have a murder problem. And we're either going to fix the problem of murder in this country together as citizens, or we're not. But before you add your voice to this entire thing, ask yourself the question, who speaks for the voiceless? Because unless that young man's story was recorded and the coffin assault was put on TV, who would have spoken for him? Who speaks for the millions of people living in this country, for the millions of farm workers who live in subpar, subhuman conditions? Who speaks for them? Who speaks for the voiceless? We're talking about this today because the people who are affected by it have a voice and a platform to speak. Anyone who knows me well enough will know that I really couldn't care what race you are. I care whether or not you love this country and you want it to work, whether you're willing to bring your best self to the game every single day, to compete with anybody regardless of your race, and to make this place a better place for every person who lives in it. Because I, like you, I want to live in a country where I can jog at 11 o'clock at night and not look over my shoulders. Where I can leave my family at home and not worry about whether or not they're safe and I have to put them in a secure state. I want to live in a country where the public education system works, the public transport system works, the public health system works. That's the country I want to live in. I couldn't care about the race of people in it. I just want to live in a country that works. But if you bring out flags that separate people, your issue ceases to be about the matter. It becomes racist. To every single person that's flown that flag and every single person that has condoned the flying of that flag, you are racist. And it's filthy. And you do not stand for the project of a new South Africa. And let me say on behalf of everybody, how dare you?